So I felt like a bit of an internal push-pull with this one. Banging body is a byproduct, but it came to me just before I was swimming, and I can't even tell you what uh, triggered my thinking on it. But I think it's a topic I always feel that push-pull on because I was a bodybuilder. I trained as a bikini athlete and competed as a bikini athlete. And it would just be totally hypocritical for me to be like, oh, you shouldn't want aesthetics. You shouldn't aim for a weight loss goal or a body based goal or anything like that because did it, done it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, uh, embarking on weight loss or, an aesthetic goal. It's just shuggling around the intention. I think, when it's done from a place of wanting to feel better, wanting to feel healthier, or, an empowering place that doesn't make you wrong, great. But when it's coming from a place where it's destroying your life, destroying your relationships, making you anxious, making you hungry, making you lose sleep, like there comes a point where you've got to be like, this is feels shit. I don't like it, and could there be a better way? And I guess I'm a good person to talk about this because I've been there, I've done all the different things, and yeah, and the feeling I kind of have around it is a banging body is a byproduct of self-empowerment and feel it, wanting the very best for you by getting to know yourself and understanding your needs, your triggers, your wants, your desires, uh what feels good, because when you feel good in yourself, when you trust yourself implicitly, when you feel confident in yourself and your decisions, you naturally feel good. You feel like yes. Um, think, a lot of the time, especially with the fitness industry, the diet industry, all these different things, not everyone, obviously, not like, I know some phenomenal experts and teachers that, it can be quite hard. And this is me sort of like, oh, getting into that people pleasing sort of thing. The reality is it's not all everything, but a lot of it is geared towards, if you achieve this body goal, if you lose weight, if you do this, you're going to be happy. And it's just, your body doesn't owe you. Your body doesn't owe you happy. as, as hitting a certain aesthetic or a certain goal. And I think it's really, really, I think consciously a lot of us know that, or subconsciously a lot of us know that. But when you're sold that over and over and over and over again, you maybe haven't hit it, so you still think, well, it must be there because, um it's a tricky one to get round. And I do know what that feels like, because I remember laying a whole load of stuff on, when I get abs, when I get a six pack, a visible six pack, and I did. I got six pack abs. I was about 10% body fat. I did my competing and stuff like that, but there was no training around the reverse dieting or anything like that. It was just kind of like stop, ended. And I had no mechanisms for anything really at that time. And at the time my mum was in a pretty not great place with her addiction. It was only a year and a half before she died. And I just broke down. I completely broke down because there was this, I think we probably get it. Everyone gets it, I think, with big goals. You hit that big goal, it's finished, it's done. You've been working towards it for ages. You're there, and then what? You know, it's that. It's almost like dropping into the void. I was like, that was it. I thought I was gonna be happy when I had these abs and it was gonna solve all of my problems, and all of a sudden, I was met with this void of not having any kind of structure afterwards, of hitting this goal and realizing, "Oh, man, wait, that wasn't it." And that wasn't That, yeah, it was one part of my turning point. One part of my turning I'd had loads of turning points up until that point, but that still wasn't the shift. I went into therapy after that, many times, but directly as a result of that. And I think that's where a lot of my passion comes from when people have a goal, irrespective of what it is, and some people get really annoyed by it. I'm not going in and saying, "Your goal is wrong," or "You don't want that," or anything like that. But what I do like to do is I do like to understand, why do you want it? I did a video, got ages ago, um, on making like a toddler and asking yourself, "Why? Why? 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 Why?" And yeah, it is annoying, but there gets to a point, when you when you're talking with a toddler, where they're asking a question, and you can either say, ask a better question if you've already answered all the other parts, or they're going to be asking a question where you actually don't have the answer. And if you do the right thing, you're going to have to be like, "Actually, I don't have the answer for this. I'm gonna have to go in and I'm gonna have to explore this and unpick this and come back to you with an answer, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know." And that's essentially been what my entire healing journey has been. I've had therapy and counseling and hypnotherapy and all kinds of things, but a huge part, because I lost my parents for a long time. I was estranged from all of my family. And I've gone through different points, because I think because of the speed of my healing journey as well, it's meant that the change in the friendship groups has been quite fast, and it's almost felt aggressive, because if I've gone through therapy and hit another layer and realized that maybe some of the people I'm hanging out with are, it's hurting more, or I'm perpetuating something that's holding myself back, and that I need to remove myself from an environment. It's been a lonely process at times. I think that's why I love, journaling so much. Yeah, yeah, plug one of my journals. But it is a lot of my own healing journey and growth journey and self-awareness journey has come from making like a toddler and asking why. Why? Why? When you're facing or dealing with limiting beliefs, and you've uncovered or reached realization that you've got a limiting belief, it can be really uncomfortable to sit there and ask yourself why. Where did it come from? And I think that when it comes to body goals, weight loss, how you choose to exercise, or why you choose to exercise, how you choose to eat, and why you choose to eat, a lot of the time, a lot of the ideas that we hold around our body, and the shoulds and the coulds and the woulds, um, a lot of them are skewed by marketing, and what became mainstream that isn't necessarily right or safe or mentally or physically healthy. So yeah, I mean, it's something that is really, it's really important to kind of become inquisitive and self-aware of these things. And I love that. I loved a banging body as a byproduct, because yeah, I had this idea of what I wanted my body to be, and what I wanted my body to be 10 years ago is different than what it is now, is different than what it would have been 10 years before. So what would I have been? Yeah, 10 years before 10 years ago. And then, you know, it's we're evolving, we're always evolving, we're always changing and shifting our different ideas of what our values are and things like that. So same when it comes to your exercise and your nutrition, these are something that we really need to come back, and our bodies come back and go, okay, so what is really important to me? And I really hope that for a lot of people, the answer to that question is your peace, is your well-being, is your happiness. um I mean, the reality is, if you're extreme dieting, if you're on what is it, VLCD, so VLCD, very low calorie diets, which are a lot of the ones that tend to be plugged, is you become irritable and angry, and then in terms that can impact not only your own mood, your ability to sleep, and your, your relationship with yourself, but also your relationship with other people. So, um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think just a question I ask myself if I'm not feeling so good about a process that I'm in with literally anything is there a better way I can do this? Is there a way that is more self-serving and kind? Because when we serve ourselves, we ultimately improve the relationships with everyone around us, and it creates that sort of ripple effect. So yeah, yeah, because I think I see it a lot. I see it a lot, and it's, you know, what was it? I saw a video from actually a really big influencer that was like, if you're going through a hard time, get a goal. Um, and it was kind of like set a big goal or something like that. And it was just like, oh, something about pushing yourself to do this thing. And I sort of thought, you know what, like for some of us, especially someone like myself, that was that was so acute in myself that it became almost a maladaptive coping mechanism. So I would be creating goals to try and hit them again, those abs, and it became a distraction from meeting myself and asking myself what I really needed. So I think there's nuance, and sometimes we really have to get in and go, is this what I need, or do I need something else? Do I need to be meeting myself here? Do I need more support? Which in a lot of the case for me was I needed support, but I didn't know how to ask for it. I only found out I was autistic 2 years ago. I knew about ADHD ages ago. I just didn't know it was neurodivergent. And, my experience going through sort of doctors and things like that was, it was always just ticked off as like, oh, you're just depressed or you're just anxious. And what I found was a lot of the treatments and the methods and the things that were used to manage depression and anxiety sometimes were counterproductive to what I actually needed to be treating and making myself feel better for the trauma that I'd experienced. Because of course depression and anxiety are, they're symptoms of a larger thing. But yeah, so I see a lot of fitness goals out there, and it's just, and so much frustration, and because you're focusing so much on how to get there, to get to a certain weight or speed, sometimes trying to do these things at the same time. So trying to increase your running speed and lose weight at the same time, can be a recipe for injury and illness and things, and that frustration, because the goal is so linked to self-worth. And if I can hit this goal, then I'll be worthy of XYZ. If I can hit this goal, I'll gain acceptance from XYZ. So yeah, yeah, it's a really deep topic, and so multi-layered and multifaceted. Um, that it is why I've been so reluctant to kind of come into it, because sometimes I'm like, where do I even start? Like, where do I even start? I've been on this journey for such a long time. I spent 15 years in the fitness industry and saw and experienced so many things, great things, terrible things, like the works. Um, and the real peace, I mean, especially came after becoming a mum, and the experience that I had where, I had single pregnancy into single motherhood, and I was emotionally and financially abused in that first year, and the sheer emotional pain of the abandonment that I had experienced left me sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night, and most nights for 7 months. I was and the doctors, I returned every single week, and they were just like, "Oh, there's nothing we can really do. It'll pass." Another one was, "It's not classical depression. It'll pass." Just stuff that I was like, I mm, mm. But, you know, it was one of those turning points where I was so grateful for what my body had allowed me to not only endure, but the fact that, you know, I had Ruby there, I was still able to breastfeed. And I was thinking how much my body was having to endure, especially with the sleeping so little, and the ways that because of all the training that I'd had in fitness, nutrition, and the relationship with the hormones and your physical and mental health, all these things I'd already done, I was like, okay, this is the time where I need to drop into a focus, think of the bigger picture, and be extra grateful for my body is carrying me through this time, which is challenging me beyond anything I have experienced in my life, and I've experienced a lot. And my body is doing that despite the fact that over the years I have pushed and pushed and pushed to get certain weights out of my body and certain shape out of my body. And here she is still carrying me. And that was kind of the real turning point, and where I started to really listen to and communicate with my body. Um and sorry, like a white feather just dropped by, and I was like, "Oh my god." I'm super spiritual, so that's a good sign. Um, yeah, that shifted a lot of things, and changed again the trajectory of the way that I train and I exercise, and over the years, in the last year or two, I've started integrating what rest means. That was a real trigger for me, being able to slow down, or the inability to slow down out of fear, out of not feeling like I could trust my own body. I had to start pumping the brakes and start integrating what rest was. So I was telling people to rest and not always feeling safe to do it myself. Um, it's just, you know, there's so many different ways that you can approach things and look at it. And I think one of my favorite things, or the most common thing that I tend to find with um when I'm working with new people, is they're coming to me with, I'm doing all the right, this is one of the most common things I hear, I'm doing all the right things. That's like the line. And they're all things that we're told that we should do, especially with the likes of the weight loss. Again, it feeds back into very low calories, and all these shoulds and all these expectations. So a lot of the time, I am encouraging people to add things in rather than subtract things away. So what I mean by that is, like, a lot of the time I'm encouraging people to add in more water, or in more vegetables, in whatever form that they can have, that will naturally create less space. I say, so I don't mean physical space, but space for um too many of the things that are slightly like imbalanced. You know, our bodies are seeking for nutrients. So if you're having foods that are calorie dense but nutrient low, then you're probably going to feel a lot more hungry than someone that has a lot more nutrient dense foods, that maybe sometimes have a lower calorie density, um, but your body is seeking to meet nutrient profiles. So if you're hydrated enough and you're meeting a lot more of these nutrient profiles, you're going to be less hungry. And then there's, of course, looking at the habits associated with eating and stuff like that. So just, yeah, a banging body as a byproduct is how you will naturally look and feel good in your own body when you feel at peace with yourself and you trust yourself and your decisions. And a lot of that, the time, it's not by doing more and more exercise, or less and less food, or both of those things at the same time. It's just taking that time to go, okay, what do I need, or what do I think I need, and is there a way I can do this differently. Yeah. But if you've got any comments or anything like that, pop them into the comments. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook, all of my videos live on my YouTube, so you can go on there, Amanda Jane Thrives, and you can subscribe there so you never miss any of them. You can comment and like and all the things that help it to reach other people that maybe need it. But yeah, something to think about. Thank you for coming.